The suburban dream, meticulously manicured and seemingly serene, often hides the most unsettling nightmares. You see the gleaming houses, the perfectly mowed lawns, the families waving from their porches, and you think you know them. You think you understand the stories unfolding behind those closed doors. But what if I told you that the most dangerous secrets, the most chilling betrayals, are often cloaked in the comforting disguise of a perfect smile? What if the family everyone admired, the one without a single argument, was, in fact, orchestrating a silent symphony of deceit that would shock a nation? This is not just a story of a family, it's a chilling dissection of the American facade, a reminder that sometimes the greatest monsters wear the most ordinary faces. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about your neighbors, your friends, and even yourself, as we unraveled the meticulously hidden double life that led to a shocking accident and exposed the darkness lurking beneath the surface of apparent bliss. The story begins in the seemingly idyllic town of Willow Creek, a picture-perfect community nestled in the heart of America. Tree-lined streets, neatly trimmed hedges, and the comforting hum of everyday life characterized this quintessential suburb. It was the kind of place where children rode bikes freely, neighbors exchanged pleasantries over fences, and the biggest scandal might be a forgotten trash can on collection day. And at the heart of Willow Creek, on Elmwood Drive, stood the meticulously maintained home of the Millers, David and Sarah, and their two bright, cheerful children, Emily and Josh. To all appearances, the Millers were the embodiment of the American dream. David, a successful regional manager for a technology firm, was known for his calm demeanor and his unwavering dedication to his family. Sarah, a part-time graphic designer, was admired for her creativity, her tireless involvement in school events, and her warm, inviting personality. Their children, Emily, a talented high school athlete, and Josh, a budding young scientist, were well-behaved, academically gifted, and universally liked. On social media, their family photos painted a vibrant tableau of happiness: sun-drenched vacations, festive holiday gatherings, and candid shots of laughter-filled moments. Everyone in Willow Creek knew the Millers, everyone admired them, and everyone, without exception, believed them to be the perfect American family. "They never argued," insisted Mrs. Henderson, their next-door neighbor, her voice laced with a nostalgic admiration that bordered on reverence. "Always polite, always smiling. You'd never hear a cross word from that house. They were just lovely people." This sentiment was echoed by countless others. Teachers praised Emily and Josh, colleagues respected David and Sarah, and friends spoke of their unwavering support and genuine kindness. From the outside, nothing looked amiss. Their lives unfolded with a predictable rhythm of work, school, community involvement, and family time, a harmonious melody that resonated with the values Willow Creek held dear. The Miller home itself was a testament to their apparent success and stability. A charming colonial with a well-tended garden, it exuded an aura of comfort and domesticity. Inside, tasteful decor, cherished family heirlooms, and of course those ubiquitous framed photographs, each one a perfect snapshot of a blissful memory, adorned the walls. To step into the Miller residence was to step into an idealized vision of home, a sanctuary of peace and happiness. No one, not a single soul, suspected the chilling undercurrents that secretly roiled beneath this meticulously crafted surface. No one knew the truth that lay dormant, waiting to be unearthed. The first crack in this flawless facade appeared not with a bang, but with a quiet, almost imperceptible tremor. It began with an innocuous call to the Willow Creek Police Department, reporting what initially seems to be a tragic accident. David Miller, according to Sarah, had been working late in their garage, tinkering with his beloved classic car, when a sudden, inexplicable explosion had occurred. By the time Sarah, alerted by the blast, had rushed to the garage, it was engulfed in flames. Despite her frantic efforts and the swift response of emergency services, David Miller was pronounced dead at the scene. The community was devastated. A pall of grief descended upon Willow Creek. Cards, casseroles, and condolences poured into the Miller home. Sarah, stoic and heartbroken, bravely navigated the condolences, her grief palpable, her explanations consistent. "It was a terrible accident," she reiterated, "a tragic twist of fate." Everyone believed her. Everyone grieved with her. However, Detective Mark Riley, a seasoned veteran of the Willow Creek PD, possessed an innate skepticism honed by years of police work. While the initial reports aligned with an accidental death, a small, almost imperceptible detail nagged at him during the preliminary investigation. The scene in the garage, though ravaged by fire, presented a few anomalies that didn't quite sit right. The police, while sympathetic, had a protocol to follow, especially when dealing with a fatality. And so the routine investigation began, slowly, methodically, picking apart the fragments of what remained. As investigators meticulously combed through the debris of the garage, a story began to emerge, not the one Sarah had so carefully constructed, but a far more sinister narrative. The initial findings pointed to a faulty gas line or an unfortunate spark, but as forensic experts delved deeper, inconsistencies started to surface. The explosion, while destructive, seemed to have originated from a specific, targeted point rather than a general malfunction. Moreover, the nature of David's injuries, while severe, suggested a more complex scenario than simply being caught in a sudden blast. The first tangible piece of evidence that screamed hidden double life was not found amidst the charred remains of the garage, but in the digital detritus of David Miller's life. His phone, remarkably preserved in a fireproof safe he kept hidden, revealed a trove of secret messages. These weren't the innocent texts exchanged with colleagues or friends. These were clandestine communications, laden with coded language and passionate undertones, exchanged with an unknown number. The messages spoke of secret rendezvous, stolen moments, and a love that burned as fiercely as the fire that had consumed David's life. It was undeniable. David Miller was having an affair. The revelation sent a ripple of shock through the investigation team. The perfect husband, the devoted father, was leading a double life. But who was this mystery person? The police soon identified the recipient of the messages, a woman named Lena Petrova, a colleague of David's from his firm, who worked in a different regional office. Lena, when confronted, was initially defensive, then tearful. She confessed to a quiet affair, one that had begun almost a year ago, fueled by shared intellectual interests and a growing emotional intimacy that she claimed David felt was missing from his marriage. She described David as a man burdened by unspoken anxieties, trapped in a gilded cage, longing for an escape. The revelation of the affair painted a new, unsettling picture of David Miller. But the plot thickened when investigators delved into the Miller family's financial records. What they uncovered was a financial secret so substantial it dwarfed the personal betrayal. David Miller had recently taken out a large life insurance policy, a multi-million-dollar policy, naming Sarah as the sole beneficiary. This wasn't entirely unusual for a man of his professional standing, but the timing, just months before his death, raised a significant red flag. And what was truly perplexing was that Sarah had never mentioned it. When politely questioned about David's financial arrangements, she had been vague, attributing the family's security to their joint savings and investments, never once hinting at the substantial new policy. The silence around this massive policy was deafening. Suddenly, the pieces began to click into place, forming a disturbing mosaic. A perfect family, a hidden affair, a substantial life insurance policy, and a sudden accident that felt increasingly less accidental. Detective Riley, with a grim determination, knew they were no longer investigating a tragic incident, but a potential crime. The evidence in the garage, once ambiguous, now spoke volumes. Forensic analysis revealed that the faulty gas line was in fact subtly tampered with. The explosion wasn't spontaneous, it had been deliberately engineered. Moreover, a closer examination of David's body showed signs of blunt force trauma before the fire, suggesting he had been incapacitated, perhaps even dead, before the blaze consumed the garage. The narrative of David working late and being caught in an accidental blast began to crumble under the weight of these scientific revelations. The investigation shifted focus entirely. Sarah Miller, once the grieving widow, became the prime suspect. Detective Riley and his team began to meticulously reconstruct the events leading up to David's death, looking for any cracks in Sarah's seemingly flawless alibi. They revisited the neighbors, not for platitudes this time, but for timelines. Mrs. Henderson, despite her earlier praise, recalled seeing Sarah's car leaving the driveway briefly an hour before the explosion, only to return shortly after. A seemingly innocent errand, but in the context of a murder investigation, every detail mattered. Security camera footage from a nearby convenience store confirmed Sarah's brief outing. Her purchase? A small, unassuming can of gasoline. She had explained it away as needing extra fuel for the lawnmower, a plausible explanation for any other day, but suspicious now. The children, Emily and Josh, were interviewed with the utmost care and sensitivity. While deeply traumatized, their accounts, though consistent with their mothers, lacked the vibrant, spontaneous details one would expect from children recounting an ordinary evening. Their descriptions of their father's last hours were almost rehearsed, a subtle stiffness in their recollections that hinted at something deeper. They had been instructed, perhaps unwittingly, to stick to a narrative. The motive, clear as day, was the life insurance policy. The affair, while a catalyst for discord, offered a secondary layer of motivation. Perhaps Sarah, feeling betrayed and envisioning a future where she would lose everything, decided to take matters into her own hands, securing her financial future in the most horrific way possible. The police presented their findings to Sarah Miller, piece by painstaking piece: the tampered gas line, the blunt force trauma, the secret life insurance policy, the clandestine affair, the gasoline purchase, the inconsistencies in her timeline. Faced with an insurmountable wall of evidence, the perfect American wife, the grieving widow, finally cracked. Her confession was chilling, delivered in a flat, emotionless tone that belied the horror of her actions. She admitted to confronting David about his affair, a confrontation that quickly escalated into a violent argument. David, she claimed, had threatened to leave her, to take everything, leaving her with nothing. In a moment of desperation, fueled by rage and a fear of financial ruin, she had struck him. He had fallen, hitting his head. Panicked and seeing an opportunity to solve both her emotional and financial problems, she had meticulously planned the accident. She had gone to the convenience store for the gasoline, returned, and then, with calculated precision, staged the scene, ensuring the garage would explode, destroying any evidence of the initial altercation. The insurance policy, she admitted, was her ultimate prize, her ticket to a secure future, free from the constraints of a failing marriage. The confession sent shockwaves through Willow Creek and indeed across the nation. The perfect American family, a beacon of suburban bliss, had been shattered by a web of deceit, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder. The news channels were abuzz, dissecting every detail, every subtle sign that had been missed. Neighbors were aghast, friends felt betrayed, and the children, Emily and Josh, were left to grapple with the devastating reality that their mother, the woman they loved and trusted, was a murderer, and their father, the man they admired, had been living a lie. The trial of Sarah Miller was a media circus. The prosecution painted a portrait of a cunning, manipulative woman driven by greed and resentment. The defense attempted to portray her as a victim of circumstances, pushed to the brink by her husband's infidelity, but the evidence was overwhelming, and Sarah Miller was ultimately found guilty of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison, her perfect smile now a chilling mask of despair. The Miller case became a stark, undeniable reminder to America of a profound and often uncomfortable truth. The most dangerous secrets are often hidden behind perfect smiles. It taught us that appearances can be deceiving, that the placid surface of suburban life can conceal torrents of emotional turmoil and sinister intentions. It highlighted the devastating consequences of infidelity, the corrosive power of greed, and the chilling capacity for deception that can reside within seemingly ordinary individuals. This story forces us to look beyond the veneer, to question what lies beneath the carefully constructed facades we encounter every day. It's a cautionary tale, urging us to recognize that while we may strive for perfection, true understanding often requires us to acknowledge the imperfections, the hidden struggles, and the unspoken truths that shape human lives. The Miller story is a permanent stain on the idyllic landscape of Willow Creek, a chilling testament to the darkness that can fester in the most unexpected of places, forever etched into the annals of American crime stories. If you're fascinated by the hidden depths of human nature and the real-life mysteries that challenge our perceptions, then you won't want to miss a single story from the American Mystery Vault. We delve into the most astonishing, thought-provoking, and often terrifying real American crime stories you won't forget. So make sure to subscribe to American Mystery Vault for more compelling narratives like this one.